Hello, my beautiful buds. Welcome back to my channel, Sprouts with Joy. My name is Joy, and if you like to talk about plants, you're in the right place. I feel like it's been a while since I've gone through my entire collection and given you guys updates on certain plants, and honestly, it's the springtime, so I feel like there's kind of a lot going on. So I'm gonna go through each section of plants that are in my collection, and I'm gonna just kind of show you the highlights. It's not an official full plant tour or anything like that, but if there's something exciting going on, or honestly, maybe if there's something less exciting going on, I just want to touch base about my collection. These types of videos are so much fun to make because I love looking at how plants are growing and stuff, especially in the springtime. So I think I actually want to show you over here. This is a relatively new plant section. I think I started it a few months ago, like around the beginning of the year. And honestly, all these plants are doing so well. Like right here. Okay, this one I think is one of my favorites right now. It's my Philodendron Atabapoense. The most recent leaf that it put out, you guys. Look at that. Is that not just incredible? And it has like a new caterpillar going, and this leaf is gonna emerge any day now, truly. Like, look at that. It's massive. I feel like this leaf is going to be absolutely incredible, like the best and biggest yet. I mean, I thought that this leaf looked big, and the roots have continued to go honestly so crazy on this moss pole. Like, do you see that? Oh my gosh, it's wild. So my Atabapoense is honestly thriving right now. Let's see, this string of hearts is just kind of existing. It's doing okay. It's got a little bit of growth, but if I'm being honest, I keep on catching one of my cats chewing on it. So I usually put this one outside every single summer. And so I think that that's going to help the situation because it'll be away from my cats, and then it'll be away from my cats and in a really nice growing environment with lots and lots of sun. My string of hearts always seems to really love being outside, and it grows a ton over the summertime. Thankfully, string of hearts is non-toxic, I believe. So I'm really not worried about my cats eating it, but like it is just unfortunate for the plant. I mean, look at those little bite marks. It's so annoying. Thankfully, my cats don't touch most of my other plants. Right here is my Anthurium magnificum that I took out of the cabinet, oh, what was it, like a month ago or something? Maybe even less than a month ago. I mean, the roots are continuing to go absolutely crazy, which is fantastic. Although it did try to put out a leaf after leaving the cabinet, and it kind of failed, as you can see. It just kind of shriveled up while it was still in process. And I think that is because of the humidity change. I'm hoping that by the next time the next leaf comes around, it will have adapted to the humidity shift. But if it does that again, or if it like continues to decline, I might put it back in the cabinet. But I just really wanted to try some of my velvet leaf anthuriums outside because not all of my plants can fit in my cabinet anymore, especially as these anthurium are getting bigger. Behind the magnificum is my gorgeous, gorgeous Philodendron Ring of Fire. This is the newest leaf, which, I mean, the variegation is gorgeous. As far as size goes, it's not quite as impressive as I would like it to be, but I mean, this one's still growing and trucking along. This is a new leaf that's also coming in. I want the leaves to be like a little bit more broader, like these beginning leaves. The leaves that it's given me so far, like this one and this one, are like skinnier. So I don't know if that is just a deficiency problem. Actually, this was the very first leaf it gave me, and it had kind of broken in half, unfortunately, as it was emerging. But I think that that's just because it was still acclimating to my environment. Yeah, these ones, the variegation is good, and they're like whole leaves, but they're just skinny. So I don't know if it's maybe not getting enough light, or yeah, like I mentioned, if it's a nutrient thing, but I'm gonna need to add an extension to this pole soon enough, and the roots are growing. They're going a little bit crazy in here. So, you know, that's a win, I think. You don't need to grow this plant up a pole, but I think I just prefer the way that this one looks. It's a little bit neater if it's all kind of facing the same direction. Over here is my Alocasia macrorhizae camouflage, and the last time you saw this plant, it had a massive mealybug infestation, and I think that I've pretty much taken care of it. I've been checking it daily and I have not seen any mealybugs on it since I treated it, and I've treated it a handful of times. I did add some systemic in here, and this is a no drainage pot, so I hope that it's gonna be okay with that. But honestly, the plant seems totally fine. It actually has a couple of new leaves coming in right there, as you can see. So like, I think it's gonna be fine. It's still beautiful, but yeah, I did have to trim away some of the leaves that were really badly infested with mealybugs. I think it was the Arbor insecticide is what I used for this one. So yeah, I did not pull any punches, and I think it's okay. And I haven't really seen a ton of mealies on any of my other plants or anything. This was the main one, the main culprit. Thankfully, I'm hoping that they're resolved and that they don't come back. But in my experience, I feel like mealybugs kind of always end up coming back, which is really annoying. Okay, and then here, actually, let me move this out of the way. This is my Anthurium crystallinum, which I really need to get a handle on these leaves because they are going, honestly, every which way. I think that it has come out successfully with one new leaf, or at least this leaf was kind of emerging when I took it out of the cabinet. But there are a few leaves, like these are yellowing off, and I'm not sure if that's because of the humidity change or, I mean, honestly, it's kind of normal for leaves to yellow off sometimes. So I don't know. I'm not too mad about them yellowing off. They are very much older leaves, and this will hopefully also help with making this plant present in a little bit more of a neater way. It looks like this might be a new leaf. Or is that an inflow? I don't know. Sometimes I have a hard time telling with this plant, but yeah, it's doing okay. But I wouldn't say it's absolutely thriving outside the cabinet either. It does have a lot of roots coming out the bottom there. I don't think that it needs to be repotted because I feel like I repotted it pretty recently. Anthurium roots do go really, really hard. I'm also gonna move this out of the way so you can see. Let's look at my philodendron Jose Buono over here. So this one is a tricky one because it has continued to like really not have any notable variegation. Sometimes it will look like it might have a tiny bit of variegation as it's emerging, but it's like super not a lot. But at the same time, it's just doing so well. I mean, I don't know how well you can see it, but there's a lot of aerial roots right here that are trying to like hold on to the pole, even though there's not even moss. I haven't filled this up with moss in a little while, so I'm a little bit behind. But I mean, this plant grows really well. It just doesn't have the variegation that I want it to have. It's just such a bummer because if I had a Jose Buono that grew exactly like this, would grow this nicely, but had variegation, like actual really nice Jose Buono variegation, I would be just thrilled. I would love that. It would probably be one of my favorite plants in my collection. This is actually like a brand new leaf that just came out, and it's so long. Like, look at how long that is. Isn't that incredible? Oh my goodness. And it's, I mean, it's a really pretty plant in a lot of ways, but I just can't get it out of my head that I'd wish it were more variegated, or honestly variegated, period. Don't mind the laundry here. But my Maranta Silver Band is doing okay. It's still growing a lot. It still looks really, really beautiful. I think it likes the spot, but I feel like, I literally just watered this plant maybe 3 days ago, and it already needs to be watered again. So maybe it needs a repot. I mean, those roots are definitely pretty significant, and I very frequently need to trim away leaves that shrivel, but I don't know. It's so tough. Like, this is so flimsy and wilted in some ways. I mean, I don't know. I have noticed that it's putting off these like roots. It's almost like it wants to root into something or like make these new bulbs. Do you see? I can't think of the terminology off the top of my head, but like the way that calatheas grow and prayer plants, marantas, whatever, is like underneath the ground, these would become entirely new plants. So I'm wondering if I could chop these off and plant them and then they would root up and be new plants. I don't know. But it seems to be wanting to do that for some reason. I'm wondering if it's just something that this plant does, that Marantas do, you know, kind of the farther out they scramble, because I think that these plants usually aren't hanging. They usually kind of almost creep along the floor. Correct me if I'm wrong. So maybe it's kind of thinking that that's what's happening, but it's not. And so it's not getting the nutrients that it wants or something. I don't know. I could be totally off base, but that's sort of what I'm thinking. But regardless, I might need to repot it soon. I already featured my Monstera Siltepecana on my favorites list from April, so we like just talked about it. But yeah, I mean, she's continuing to look so nice. She likes it right here. She gets a good amount of light. And then, oh my goodness, both of these guys are just the stars of the show, right? My Philodendron gigas and Philodendron verrucosum. With my gigas, this is the first leaf it came out with after making a top cut. So it's cute. I mean, it's a little bit funny and funky and awkward, but I'm hoping that it's only really one kind of dud leaf and it'll kind of get back to normal and return to the previous leaf size. I mean, I don't mind it. And then my verrucosum, it's honestly growing so nicely. Like, just look at these leaves. They're so gorgeous. Oh my word. And it's got some baby plants more closer to the bottom because there's a couple of plants in here. I recently trimmed away some of the dead leaves that were at the bottom. They were just the oldest leaves of the plant. But yeah, I mean, he's looking really good. I think I need to add another moss pole extension, which, do I want it to be that tall, guys? I don't know. I might, if I do add an extension, I'd probably switch it with the Jose Buono, or maybe even get rid of the Jose Buono, because you kind of already know my feelings on that plant. I don't know. I'll figure it out. But man, I feel like this plant grows so quickly that it already needs another moss pole extension. That's crazy. Oh my goodness, look at all these new leaves on my lemon lime Maranta. I appreciate this plant so much. Honestly, look, there's literally so many new leaves. That's like 4 without even hardly looking. I love that. This one also dries out really quickly though. I don't think it needs to be repotted, but, oh, hello spider. Do you see that? Hi, mister. Were you just hanging out underneath that plant? Go you. I feel like in the springtime, I wind up with so many random bugs and spiders and stuff in my house that weren't there before. Oh my gosh, I might need to take a break because I'm already tired and out of breath after only talking about those plants. Seriously, oh my goodness. Kind of moving on to inside the cabinet. I don't think I'm going to talk about literally every single plant here, but I'll touch on a few notable ones that I haven't talked about in a while. Oh. Okay, here's my Alocasia Frydek, which is gorgeous. It did lose a few leaves, but it has also given me new leaves, so I don't feel too worried about it. And look at, there's a new leaf coming in right here. Oh my gosh, it's so pretty. And I think that some corms that were in the soil must have sprouted because it's got like new plants, whole new plants popping up with new leaves that are so cute and also equally as variegated. But the fun thing is that she's got a little inflorescence that is currently active right now. And if you don't know, I feel like alocasias, they open up their little inflow and then close it. They're kind of more like philodendron rather than anthurium, where they have a very small window where they have an inflow going, but it's active right now during this video. Speaking of blooms and such, I did actually pollinate my Anthurium villanae. Anthurium villaneorum? Is that how you say it? My brain just completely... So I'm gonna get into that. If I can reach it, it's behind all of these plants over here. Ooh, I need to water this in actually. And repot it. That's another thing that I need to do. Is this also an inflow or is this a new leaf? Stop it. You are not ready for that. I don't think I've got any... Oh, actually no, there are roots on my Philodendron White Princess. Do you see that? Do you see that right there? Look at that. New roots. That's really fun. Okay, so that's rooting up successfully. This one. I don't see roots, but I hope that it'll be okay. Anyways, back to the Villeneorum. My Anthurium forgetii, my Anthurium dark forgetii, also had an inflow, had pollen that was just there, and it matched up with the, I think the female stage of the Villeneorum, which comes before the pollen stage with Anthurium. And so we'll see if anything happens with this inflow. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that these two are compatible. I actually looked it up online. I do wish that I could have repotted this plant before pollinating it because as you can see, I think that it's going to need a repot. I mean, it's got roots on roots on roots, but I wouldn't want to repot it while it is actively producing seeds. So like, yeah.
We'll have to see.
So this is actually a rehab plant, but now it is doing so well. Let's put out these gorgeous leaves for me, and I'm obsessed. Like these two leaves, do you see them? Look at that, and look at that. They're huge, and I love the cabinet, and obviously it also gave me an inflow, and we're gonna see if anything comes of it. Honestly, a hybrid between a dark forgetii and a Villeneorum I think would be really, really cool. This is my Syngonium strawberry milk. And if I'm being honest, I think that this might be the most leaves it's held on to in a really, really long time. Like it's actually quite happy and it's got a new leaf coming in too. I don't know if it's gonna focus well enough on that because my face is kind of in the way, but yeah, it's doing really well and it's very cute. Oh my goodness. I'm not gonna bother taking this out, but look at how overgrown my linearis is. This poor thing has been like sitting on the floor of the cabinet here. You see that? It's so ridiculous. I really need to trim it and propagate it and deal with that, but that is one thing that I have been procrastinating. And actually, I think my next plant tours video is going to be me finally just doing everything that I've been putting off. And funnily enough, I feel like the plant tours that I tend to put off the most are some of the easiest and like most basic ones, but they're ones that I have to go get special supplies for. Well, not special, but I have to find a propagation vessel and get out my sphagnum moss and then get my shears and then cut it and for propagating it. And it's so silly. And also, I don't know, I like how long it is, but it just doesn't fit in the cabinet. So it's just unfortunate all around. Anyway, my little alocasia babies are thriving. This is the baby of my alocasia odora variegata, which is also right here and doing very well in the cabinet, by the way. But look at that variegation. It's so good, so cute. Oh my gosh, it's such a good plant. And then the root system is honestly going crazy. I love it so much. And then the macrorhizae is like not quite as dramatic. I think there was only one corum in here, but it's still very cute, very solid. Again, I still don't know what I'm gonna do with these plants, but I'll figure it out. They're still really small and very low maintenance. But yeah, this is the Alocasia odora variegata. Oh my goodness. There have been so many new leaves coming out on this plant. It's honestly thriving so much. It loves the cabinet. It loves the self-watering pot. It is doing fantastic. Yeah, my Anthurium clarinervium is not looking super hot right now. It looks like there's gonna be a new leaf. There's a new growth point, at least down here. These roots are not playing. Look at that really chunky root. That's insane.
Anthurium roots are insane.
I've rerooted this plant multiple times. I don't know why this clarinervium, it was tough as nails for the longest time, but it just went through a beating. It was my first velvet-leaved Anthurium that I owned, so I went through a huge learning curve with it, but I actually decided to reroot it in no drainage, like just in straight soil, because I was kind of done at that point because it had been rooting in sphagnum moss really, really nicely for a while, but then it just rotted out of nowhere. Clearly, I mean, I could have done something wrong, but honestly, I couldn't pinpoint what I had done wrong. So yeah, I rerooted it in no drainage, and honestly, the roots are looking fantastic, but the leaves aren't really showing that yet, but it's been a little bit of a slower journey. Let's see, is anything happening? My jewel orchid, it looks like it's actually having some new growth. For a while, I was a little bit worried about it because it was having a lot of dead leaves, but right now it actually has a decent amount of new growth. Like, see, that's a new leaf, and this is a relatively new leaf too. Like, it's growing, and it seems happy. I recently trimmed away a bunch of dead leaves though, so it looks a lot nicer and cleaner now. I do feel like I have to water this one somewhat often. Oh look, more new leaves right there. See that? Ugh, It's so cute. But yeah, I've been keeping it in the cabinet and I think it likes it. Oh, this is very exciting actually. This is my Hoya calistophylla, which I recently propagated and have been rerooting. And it is doing fantastic. The leaves are fully plumped up, and even though like it's in moss and it's literally rooting right now, it's giving me a lot of new growth. Like look at that. So there's new leaves right there. If I can get it to focus, see? And then there's also like a new growth point starting right here with new leaves, and then another one down here. So right now it's giving me, I think, a total of 4 new leaves. And obviously, I mean, I made 3 cuts, but still, it's like every single cut that I made has come out with a new growth point, which is really, really, really exciting to me and very promising. Honestly, I love that it's doing so well. This is my little Syngonium frosted heart that I got from my friend Natalie in a trade. And I somewhat recently put it on a moss pole, and honestly, this one is going really strong. It's put out several new leaves. There's a new leaf right here coming out. It's super cute. I love it, and I can't wait to kind of see what it looks like on the pole and see if it sizes up and stuff. Like, I really like this type of Syngonium a lot. This is my little Epipremnum Shangri-La that was also from that trade. It's still really cute. It did lose a few leaves because I think it was kind of, I mean, they were like older leaves, but it's still growing and still pretty stable. I think I might need to water it a little bit more often than what I've been doing because it gets a fair amount of light. It's like right underneath that grow light there. I'm gonna set this aside because I need to water in this moss. Didn't I just say that I was gonna be like faster when it came to these updates? I think I did just say that. Am I being faster? No. Over here is my anthurium. It's crystallinum and papillanimum crossed together. And the most notable thing is, well, number 1, he needs a repot so badly. My goodness. And number 2, look at this new leaf. Isn't that so cute? It's been coming out for a while, so you know it's not quite as like strikingly red as it was before, but I think it's still so adorable. I love, like, look at how kind of veiny it looks. It looks like it has capillaries or something. Do you see that? It's so cool looking. I love it. So my Monstera adansonii has been very hit or miss. Every other leaf is immaculate. This leaf, just a stunner. And then the leaf that came after that was this leaf that pooped. The white did not want to come through. The leaf after that is looking fantastic so far. And if you kind of go back further, this leaf also kind of pooped out on me while it was emerging. So I don't really know what I'm doing differently with each leaf that's emerging. But if I look at it on the whole, I think it looks nice, with the exception of like some browning kind of started right here on this leaf, which is not too terribly surprising. I feel like variegated Monstera adansonii is kind of known for browning on the white parts. I've heard of some people using, what is it, silica or something to prevent the browning. So I haven't really looked into that. On the whole, I'd say that it really likes the pole. I need to add some more moss. Eventually I'm going to need to add an extension, and then I don't really know what I'm going to do at that point because it'll be harder to fit into the cabinet. And this is a plant that I think honestly loves the greenhouse cabinet so much. I mean, look at the size of these leaves. I've never grown a Monstera adansonii up a pole before. The leaf sizing up is a big deal. I will have some things to address with this plant soon enough, be it fertilizing it more often or adding silica, or, I mean, obviously I'm gonna have to do a moss pole extension and maybe even propagate it at some point. I don't know. I haven't quite made it there yet, but I'm so far quite happy with how it's been growing. I wasn't really sure what to expect with it. And let's see, is anything interesting happening? I recently showed you guys my Velvet Halo Micans out of my April favorites, and I mean, he's still growing nicely, and I still need to add more moss. That's another thing that I've been procrastinating a lot, is keeping up with adding moss to moss poles. I'll be really good at it for a little while, and then I just completely fall off, and the plants keep on growing, so I need to keep up with it. But yeah, looks like we might be having a new leaf on my Anthurium Dark Forgetii. It's still like in the very beginning stages, so I don't think that you can actually really make it out, but that's fun because there's only 3 leaves on this right now, and I was hoping that it would come out with a new leaf soon. I think all the rest of this stuff I've kind of showed you relatively recently, so there's not a whole lot. I guess this is my Philodendron serpens. This is the newest leaf It's a baby. I've had this one for a while, but it's taking kind of forever to grow, but it's doing pretty well. Same for this little seedling. It's so tiny. It's like a dock block hybrid or something. So, okay, I'm having fun, but I've been talking. I don't know, I might edit a lot of stuff out, but at this point I've been talking for like 40 minutes, and I don't know about you, but I'm an introvert and I can only hear myself talk for so long before I start to feel really tired. So I'm like losing steam. So I might make myself a coffee by the time I like go downstairs to film, because really quickly, this right here is my philodendron squamiferum. I still have the mother plant, but it was getting completely overgrown for the space, and I was very sad to cut it, but I decided to cut it. It's just been hanging out over here because I haven't had the heart to really do much with it, but I mean, it's rooting and it's got like new growth points happening too, which is really exciting. I mean, look at that growth point and a growth point right here. So it's growing, and I don't know. I haven't decided if I want to add it back in with the mother plant or if I am gonna end up just giving it away. I don't really know. But look at how fuzzy those petals are, and these leaves are massive. Honestly, this has been one of the easiest plants in my collection to grow, and it sized up effortlessly. It sized up without a moss pole, period. Like it was on a bamboo stake. Maybe I'll show it to you as I'm going downstairs. I think I will. All right, and then a quick overview of what's on top of the cabinet. Just anything notable. Let's see. Oh, my Peperomia Hope has been growing, and it's really, really cute. It's still very much a baby plant, but it's honestly adorable. My Ficus elastica Taneki really has not grown since the summertime when I had it outside. I feel like these guys often don't grow over the winter time, but I was hoping that by the springtime it would maybe give me something. But I am planning on putting this one outside again over the summertime. Your day will come. Oh, my Philodendron mayoi is still going crazy. It's still putting out new leaves. It's growing out of this pot now, as you can see. So I'm gonna need to address that too. That's another thing I've been procrastinating, because like I love the way that it looks right now. It's a little bit backlit right now, but it's just so gorgeous and I love it. Oh, this plant right here, my Syndapsis pictus argyrius, it used to go all the way to the floor, but it had a massive mealy infestation. I treated this thoroughly. I have been checking it most days, and it's, I think, mostly stable, but I just chopped off a lot of this plant. So yeah, I think it's okay. Is there anything else notable? Ooh, right here. Ooh. Look at this beauty. I want to take you into kind of better light to look at. Oh my gosh. This is my Stramanthe Trio Star, and yeah, it's just growing beautifully. It's so nice and full. I did actually have to repot it like 2 months ago because, I mean, it actually needed to be repotted, period. But I accidentally broke its pot because I was watering it and then I tripped a little bit and dropped the pot, and it was in a ceramic pot. So it just, you know, shattered and I had to pick up the pieces, repot it. But honestly, it did not miss a beat. It's doing great. Oh, and before I leave my room, I did want to point out this lone little plant in the corner. It's a Philodendron Brazil, and frankly, it is doing incredible. This is actually a really low light situation. It does not get any direct light. This is a north facing window. This is a west facing window, but it's, I mean, these blinds are typically closed. So it's just kind of chilling in the corner, and it's growing really, really well. I mean, look at that whole vine that's trailing down. It's got lots of new leaves. I sleep right there and get to just kind of stare at it as I'm falling asleep. Not these plants. My husband is on this side of the bed, so he's the one that sees these plants. I'm the one that just sees this plant, and I love it. It makes me smile every night. Really quickly, this is kind of like on the landing of my stairs, so I don't film it all that often because it's honestly really awkward to try to film here. But this right here is my Philodendron squamiferum. Here's where I made the cut because I had like 3 leaves that were just getting in the way of, you know, practically trying to walk past the area. And my husband, he does not complain about my plants very often, but he did start to complain a little bit about this plant because it was getting in the way. But let's see. Yes, it does have a new little nubbin growth point right there that's activating. So that's good. Also, I don't know if I've showed you these yet. These are little propagation tubes that I got from a friend for Christmas. I think they're just super cute. And up here, okay, my Hoya Carnosa Crimson Queen has some new leaves coming in. So cute. I love it. I love this plant here. It's honestly perfect. I don't think anything really notable is happening with my Philodendron Brandtianum. My staghorn fern is stable. So I would rather finish upstairs before coming downstairs, but my son is napping upstairs. So I'm coming downstairs so I don't disturb his nap. But we will go back upstairs if I can. But first, as I mentioned, we need a coffee break. If I could only drink one beverage for the rest of my life, other than water, it's a little bit of a toss-up between like sparkling water like LaCroix or iced mochas. But I think I'd go with iced mochas. Oh, it kills me how good this is. Oh my gosh. So let's talk about the plants that are on this windowsill. It actually kills me that they are not perfectly balanced and symmetrical. They used to be, but then this closet door would slam into them, which is not ideal. But it's the perfect size for my little Hoyas. I'm gonna show them to you right now. I was going to put these guys in the cabinet, but yeah, when I realized that they were literally the perfect size for this tiny, tiny windowsill, I couldn't resist. It's an east-facing window, and they honestly love it. So this is my Hoya Shepherdii, and it's got 2 new leaves coming in. Can you even see that? I don't even know. Yeah, they're really hard to see, but they're there. And right here is my Hoya Bella, Louis Bois, and I don't know that it has any new growth really right now, but it looks stable to me. It used to have a peduncle, but it shriveled off, unfortunately, which is not surprising considering it's a baby plant and it doesn't have like a whole lot going on. The 2 other little Hoyas that I have are the Hoya Lima, which also I think is in the same boat. Like it's not really growing a ton, but it looks cute and it's stable. And then this Hoya Lacunosa Royal Flush is actually growing quite a bit. Do you see those new leaves? So like there's a new leaf, and it's got like a bunch of new little leaves sprouting along this one little vine. So this one is doing fantastic. I can't wait to have like a nice full plant of this. I feel like it'll look so nice. You were here pretty recently, but I think I actually moved some things around. I had my Syngonium albo here, but obviously I chopped it up recently, which if you want to see that video, it'll be up there if I remember to add it. In that same video, I also potted up my Begonia Maculata Whitey, which from far away, she's killing it. She looks great. Once you get up a little bit closer, it doesn't look as good, but it's growing, so that's good. I mean, she's kind of taking a moment to adjust to her new environment, but there's some new leaves coming out and everything, which is fantastic. As you can see, new leaves. So she's growing and she looks pretty good, but yeah, there's a couple of leaves on the bottom here that don't look as nice. But yeah, I mean, structurally, this plant looks actually so nice. I've always loved this plant and I always will. I don't know if anything else really that notable is happening over here. There's a couple new leaves on this Tenanthe setosa. Where are they though? I don't know. I also need to trim off some of the dead leaves, but yeah, there's a new leaf right there, so that's good. Also, don't mind my kids' toys just littering the floor. I will say, so my Thai constellation has not put out a new leaf in actual ages, so I'm not worried, but I am wondering like what the deal is. The roots are going crazy because like they're growing out of the pot, which doesn't make that much sense to me. Yep, these two moss poles need to be extended. These are my problem children as far as philodendron go, because the leaves always come out deformed and they get caught and all that sort of thing. I feel like the leaves usually don't size up. This is a pink princess, this is a philodendron silver sword. So yeah, they get on my nerves more often than not. Oh my gosh, this plant needs to be repotted so badly. It's my jade syndapsis and this thing is like all roots. I checked it a couple weeks ago because it was drying out every 2 days. So I need to repot that so badly. But I keep on forgetting. I don't know why I keep on forgetting. I just do. This plant is doing pretty well, but I don't think it's growing a ton right now. Yeah, that's my Calathea macuyana. I think I am going to skip past a bunch of the plants that are over by the TV and kind of like in the standing room space because there's nothing super notable happening with any of them. Like they're generally stable, but there's nothing like, I don't know, for some reason when I look at them, I'm not like,
Oh my gosh, I'm super excited.
so I don't really want to show you things that I'm not excited about. I'm losing stamina, but there is a new leaf on this little monstera. But this monstera, I don't know, like it's beautiful. I love it in this corner, but it has not been giving me like a ton of super big leaves or anything like that. I don't know if I even really want it to grow that much bigger than what it's already at, so I'm not like devastated about it or anything. But really quickly, I guess we can go through some of these Hoya over here because there might be some interesting things happening. Oh, this Carnosa compacta is actually growing quite a bit. It's got some new growth, which I'm really, really happy about because this plant has honestly been a really slow grower for me. I would love to have like a nice full pot of this someday. Oh, this is my Hoya ficii. And honestly, it's also been growing a lot. I mean, it's getting so tall. It has so many more leaves than what it started off with. Because I got this plant as like a little tiny cutting and it only had like 4 leaves on it. And now we're already here. I love it. It's super backlit, so you can't really see this well, but my lacunosa. Oh, we got lots of dead blooms happening here. Lacunosa super silver, as always, is killing it with all of these peduncles and blooms. Like, look at that. It's so cute. I love it. She's loving her new pot. My Hoya elliptica. I have to like stand up here. Okay. So remember how my Hoya elliptica blasted a bloom? I don't know how well you can see this, but it's got 2 new peduncles. Do you see that? In the same spot. Look at that. Isn't that crazy? So I'm like, okay, surely this time I'll get a successful bloom. But I don't know. I don't want to, I mean, I wouldn't bet on it or anything, but that's pretty exciting. All right, I'm like, this is dangerous. Is anything else? Oh, new growth on the variegated Hoya compacta. Look at that. Oh, that's so happy. This one, I feel like it grows so infrequently, but then it'll just randomly put off a bunch of new leaves. Hoya polynera, I feel like is always pretty much growing. She's looking so nice and full these days. Like, look at that. My Hoya villosa has never like grown exactly the way I want it to, but it at least has new leaves coming in. So I just hope it keeps it up. All right, I only have 18 minutes left on my SD card, so I hope that I can just speed through this room. I'm gonna have to maneuver around. My son's playpen was in here so he could take his nap, and I don't really feel like moving it out, so we're just gonna have to move around it. Starting kind of over here. It's so backlit. I'm so sorry. Let's go this way, and then maybe I'll just show you the plants one by one. I will pull them off of the little shelf. Okay. This is my Hoya chicken farm that hangs on the window. It actually has a peduncle right now. I don't know if it's gonna do anything, as always, but there's a peduncle, which is very exciting. And It also obviously has some new leaves. Oh, and it looks like there's also a new growth point down there. Do you see that? I don't have enough hands to show you, but it's like right here, there's a new growth point starting. I don't know if you can see that or not, but yeah, that's really fun. Honestly, this plant, it's a little bit bleached from the south facing window. So I've actually been, sorry, I thought I saw a mealybug and I was like, no, but no, there's no mealies. Also, I'm so out of breath. I need to calm down. Okay, so it's a little bit bleached from the south facing window. I've actually moved it so that it's a little bit more behind the curtain and isn't getting like super strong direct light anymore. But other than that, I mean, it seems to be doing really well. Here's another plant that's on that top shelf by the south facing window. And the curtains are usually mostly closed, so the plants aren't getting super intense south facing light, but they do get pretty bright light. And I will say, hang on, do you see, so there's like a really nicely variegated leaf. But do you see these other variegated leaves right here that have been coming in? Look at that. Oh my gosh, this plant has been growing so much and it's been coming in so nicely. I'm so happy with it now. This philodendron white princess continues to look just gorgeous. It actually has a new leaf coming in right here that looks pretty promising. And yeah, honestly, it's a good plant. It's been liking it here by the south facing window, I think. Down here underneath the SOLTECH grow light, I've got my philodendron campus portuanum, which there's lots of new leaves coming in here. Did you hear my son just now? My husband's with the kids, but my son feels very strongly about something and he makes the loudest, like, grunting, frustrated noises I've ever heard come out of a child. Yeah, there's a lot of like new leaves coming in on this philodendron, but it's not really like climbing up the pole yet or anything like that, which is fine. I mean, it's gonna take some time, but at least it's growing and it seems pretty happy and full. I recently talked about this holiday cactus. It's just doing well. I don't think my Hoya Morellii has really been doing anything. It doesn't look like it. Maybe, oh, is that, this might be new growth actually. That's good. I mean, I'll take it. It's my Syndapsis platinum, which I feel like it has not had a new leaf in a long time. So I hope that it grows for me soon. Got my Ripsalis paradoxa. Oh my goodness, it's been growing like absolute crazy. Do you see all this new growth here? Like, it's been loving this grow light so much. So that's a win. And then my philodendron fuzzy petiole. So this leaf and this leaf totally did not handle the shock of leaving the prop box well, so they just shriveled up. But there's some new growth. Like, this is a new leaf that came out and the new growth has been doing nice. Like, it looks good. I'm still hopeful that this plant will make a comeback and be okay. If I'm being honest, I feel like this corner always ends up looking so messy. I don't know, maybe it looks nice on camera, but maybe it's just that it's in such a cramped space, or I just know that there's like soil on the floor that I need to clean up. But this is my philodendron splendid. It has a new leaf up here. It's hard for me to see what you see on the viewfinder, but there's a new leaf right here. And it's growing pretty well. Like, it's stable, it's nice, it loves it. Okay, and then this plant right here has to be one of my favorites right now. It's my Epipremnum pinnatum albo variegata. I'm pretty sure I made an Instagram post about this, but look at the size of these new leaves and look at how it's rooting onto the pole. Look at the little mini pinhole fenestrations. Oh my goodness. Look at that. I mean, for reference, actually, I need to water this plant. But like, do you see how tiny these leaves are? And it has just been increasing in size and it just looks so good. I'm so excited about that. Oh, here's my philodendron mame. So I'm gonna give you guys an update on that. I actually, right after I cut it, if you don't know, I cut it into like 2 pieces, and the piece that I was keeping had 5 large leaves on it. One of the leaves ended up dying and it was totally declining. So I decided to actually chop it in half because it was just looking like a limp noodle and was not doing well. So I chopped it in half. I put half of it, like I kept half of it in the soil. I put half of it in moss and it has since plumped up. It's looking a lot better than it did before, which is good. So eventually maybe I'll pot them up together Or maybe I'll just keep the cutting I put in moss because this was kind of the front cut, the top cut, I guess. I mean, it's a crawler, so the terminology feels a little bit different. But yeah, I mean, it's still alive, which I was just terrified that this plant was not going to do well. I had an anxious week there when I cut it and it was like not doing well. So I just hope that it continues to do well for me. I would be just heartbroken if this plant did not survive. But yeah, I mean, I was really hoping that it would be okay with like all 5 leaves with the root system that it had. But you know, sometimes you just don't know until you try it. If it starts to decline, you can always just cut it down further, and it's bouncing back now, so that's good. Honestly, this philodendron hederaceum, I'm gonna need to chop soon. It's getting so long, but it's growing like crazy. I love it. But I'll just chop it and then put it back into the pot. And over here, it's always so hard to like get back here to film. I honestly have been thinking about getting rid of this queen size bed here and making this more of a proper office, putting in a desk or something just to make more room, and making the attic more of the guest space because we have a finished attic upstairs. But anyways, that's beside the point. Here's the butt cut of my Syngonium albo. Gotta shimmy back over here. It's already got new growth points happening. So see there and there. So, I mean, I might give this part away to a friend, depending on how my cuttings do, like the top cuts that I made of my Syngonium albo. But I might also just pot them all together. We'll have to see. I don't know. I'll give you like an overview of some of these plants, but I don't feel like any of them are going particularly crazy. I do need to water this Syngonium erythrophyllum actually. Here's just a general overview of the plants that are right here right now. My Monstera Peru has actually continued growing pretty decently, although up there it has like a runner going on. So I'm gonna have to deal with that. Maybe I'll chop it back, I don't know. See, my Anthurium vitarifolium I actually recently put up there, and it's stable, but it's not like growing super quickly or anything. I put my Hoya Mathilde up here, and I've been loving it trailing. It looks so good. I love it. And actually, these 2 leaves I think are new, which is awesome. There's a new leaf on my Hoya carnosa. I mean, I think that this vine is honestly just plain carnosa, but this is Crimson Princess over here. My philodendron painted lady was growing really nicely for a while, but the last couple of leaves, as you can see, have not looked good. So I'm gonna have to do some troubleshooting. I mean, I do need to add moss on there too, but yeah, we'll have to see. It's doing that philodendron iridescens thing that I hate, which is, you know, the leaves just being stupid. Yeah, my Syngonium erythrophyllum is actually doing quite well. For a while there, it was not doing that well, but it's growing, although I need to address it. I think that it needs to be watered. It's a little bit floppy right now. My Monstera adansonii is nice and stable. My Alocasia Black Velvet could be better. I think I've accidentally underwatered it a couple of times, and I think it also might need to be repotted, but I feel like my Alocasia sometimes don't take too well to being repotted, so I'm a little bit nervous to do that, but it might be for the best. And my Philodendron Dark Lord is doing fine, but again, I mean, the new leaves are often still small or deformed or just not ideal, so I'm not super happy with it. Well, that's gonna be it for this video. I hope that you enjoyed just kind of seeing where my collection is at these days, getting little updates here and there. It was fun to go through and appreciate my plants again and kind of have a nice little walkthrough, you know. If you did like this video, please feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. All those things are super helpful for my channel. And yeah, I hope that you have a wonderful and blessed day. Bye-bye!